In this daily drop, I'm going to give some words of wisdom on data wrangling and managing your footage on set or on location. So let's go. Okay, as I said, same outfit, and I'm just doing these back to back, and I wanted to talk about something that just recently happened when I came back from my trip. I had set up or pre-lit a location for some production. There was a different crew in place for that, and before I left, I sort of set everything up in terms of hard drives and memory cards and all of that stuff for the production. Now, here's what happened, and it's not going to be the end of the world, but it is a reminder of a few things when you are data wrangling, you're managing media, and you are doing production and getting ready for post-production. So what happened was there was some confusion, there was some situation that occurred whereby a camera's footage was never backed up to the multiple drives that we had for the production. It wound up being that B camera got put into the A camera and B camera folders. Now, we had great sound because we were doing double system. So we had 32-bit float sound being recorded to the Mix Pre 6.2, and we did have clean B camera footage, which had scratch audio on it for the production. If we were not doing double system sound, we'd be pretty much screwed because a camera would have not been there with not only no footage, but also production sound. I always make sure that a camera gets fed from the Mix Pre. That way we have a safety. Obviously, we're going to use what's on the Mix Pre that's 32-bit float, but you get the idea. So kind of a big mess up. And when I dug a little deeper into the situation, I found out a couple of things that you should really be aware of and I think are essential for you to keep in mind. And this has nothing to do with checksum verification when you're going to multiple drives, making sure the footage is on both the drives, so on and so forth, though that is important to check those file sizes, make sure they match. Generally, two cards aren't going to be exactly the same in terms of the data, so that can be a flag. But here are my two pieces of advice, because remember that all of the money that is spent on a production is going to be sitting on hard drives and on memory cards. And that is where all of the money is going. And if you don't get that right in terms of backing up, data wrangling, all of that stuff, you're screwed. So number one, my advice is, and this was something that I found out after the fact was happening, you should only have one person who's responsible for media. And because of the backing up situation, the time factor that was going on, I found out that while we were using fast drives, X9, X9 Pros from Crucial, the card reader that was being used was very slow. So there was a decision to move at a separate time to a different location. There were two people coordinating the media management, and that right there is where the trouble starts. The second thing that was not done once media was copied over to the drives was what I think is essential whenever you are backing up on a project, which is you have to check at least some of the clips from each of the folders and the audio from the folder you're backing up to make sure that you have that footage, that it looks right, and that it's giving you what you need. So that wasn't done, and that would have immediately shown that what was on A in the folder from A camera and B camera in that folder were the same as opposed to different. And we had a system in place where we would back up to 3 drives, a primary, a backup, and one for the editor. And in that situation, there's lots of redundancy, but we had redundancy where the same footage was in A camera's folder and B camera's folder. So that happened with a few interviews, and it's just words of advice to you to make sure that one person is responsible for data wrangling, for media management, and that number two, that you make sure that you're not just checking file sizes, checksum verification or manually checking that, but that you're actually opening up and checking clips to make sure you have the right footage in the folders that you're copying to. I'll have some other tips on media management and things like that in a future episode, but I think that's it for today. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.